Hey everybody, welcome back. So that thing I just played for you all there was a little exercise that I wrote which demonstrates some important compositional concepts for playing full and dynamic tapping lines. So in this lesson I'll break down the compositional tricks that are used in the exercise that I wrote, and hopefully you guys can apply them to your own playing. And if you want tabs for the exercise, those are available in the description below. So the first thing that I want to talk about today is the idea of breaking up a guitar arrangement into three distinct registers. Essentially, this is a perspective where guitar parts can exist over three distinct registers. A bass section, which I kind of designate as the lowest two strings, a middle section, which is the middle two strings, the D and G string, and a treble section, which is the highest two strings, or the B and E string. In the exercise that I wrote, if we analyze it, we'll find that there are at least two distinct parts that are running in parallel with each other. A distinct bass section, which occurs over the lowest two strings, and a distinct treble section, which happens on the highest two strings. So this counterpoint between the bass part and the treble part, or just parts in multiple registers, is really important for making things sound more musical. Why, you might ask? Well, having parts in different registers basically creates a more dynamic listening experience. When we hear parts in multiple registers, it almost sounds as if we have two guitars playing at once instead of just one. And when we're hearing multiple things, that's generally more exciting, less static, and hence more musical. As music, and the way I like to experience it at least, is a polyphonic experience where multiple parts are played in concert with each other at the same time. Moving on, let's take a look at the bass part in the exercise. What we can see is that if we take a look at my left hand while I'm playing the riff, I will frequently change the bass note by tapping or hammering onto notes that are in the key with my available fingers. In context then, watch this. Pay attention to my middle finger and ring finger, as I'll use these to hammer onto different notes to impose a bass line. If we were to go so far as to just isolate those bass notes on the 5th and 6th string, we'll find that there is a distinct bass line, which sounds kind of like. So quite clearly there's a bass part there, and as a general rule I actually think that writing bass parts are the most important aspect of giving life to your guitar lines. I find this is really critical for two reasons. The first of which is obviously that bass parts just sound more full. When you play notes in a lower register, they sound more full than parts in a high register. And the second reason is that when you have changing bass notes, those changing bass notes really help to emphasize or bring out certain types of chords that are in the riff. And we have a lot of chord changes that kind of sounds more harmonic and has more color. So to really drill this home, here are some examples from other guitarists who do the exact same thing or clearly write bass parts in their tapping lines. Okay, so let's move on quickly to taking a look at the treble part in this riff. And when I play the treble part, it definitely sticks to the same few strings. Moreover, it never crosses into the bass section. It just stays in its own little treble register. As you might have guessed, and as I've said before actually, this was intentional to show you guys the dichotomy between bass and treble and how you can bring out the two when you're arranging your guitar parts. So the first treble part is from the A section of this riff, and it's really simple. It sounds like this. And the second treble part sticks to the same rhythm, but it's just played in a slightly higher register actually, and it's also based around a different chord shape. So it sounds like this. Yeah, so those are the treble parts. And when you combine the treble part with that bass line that goes, you get the full riff. The last thing I want to touch on today is guitar technique. Specifically, how can this concept help us to develop our tapping technique and make it more robust? First off, the great thing about thinking about bass versus treble is that it really helps us to develop independence between the left hand and the right hand. When the left hand is working towards bass parts and the right hand is working towards treble, you basically force your writing to impose two different rhythms against each other and impose just two kind of different harmonic ideas against each other. And in doing so, that really forces you to develop the left and right hand independently. Instead of doing something like simply fretting a chord and tapping out some notes, with the right hand, you're now forcing your left hand to do some work as well, play some notes itself, and that essentially develops independence. So this line in particular is actually based around the concept of just fretting a chord in the left hand and tapping out notes, but it tries to take that idea one step further by forcing you guys to play bass notes in the left hand while still retaining this chord shape. So the whole time I'm basically holding this major 9 shape, but I'm tapping notes with my free fingers. And in doing that, we get what I've said a bunch of times in this lesson. We have independence, and we have some more dynamic parts. So yeah, thinking with this perspective will help you guys to write more full and polyphonic lines, and it'll help with your chops. I encourage you guys to give this concept a go, and I'd love to hear what you come up with. Alright folks, there you have it. If you like this video, then please make sure to like, share, and subscribe as I put out a new video every single week. And if you want to support the channel, then please consider checking out my Patreon page. As a reminder, I created that full PDF with all the tabs from this lesson, and you can grab that there. So for as little as $1 a month, the Patreon page will get you guys access to bonus content like guitar tabs, lesson notes, chord diagrams, and other things of that nature. And honestly, it just really helps me out as it allows me to get some extra equipment to make these videos better. And finally, I also teach lessons through Skype. There's a link to my email address in the description below. So thank you all for watching, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.